He looked her straight in the eyes and said, "I don't shake hands with staff." Asterisk. But what he didn't know, that staff member was about to cost him $4 billion and his entire reputation. This is the story of how quiet dignity crushed arrogant power. It was a bright morning in a sleek, modern boardroom inside one of the world's leading investment companies. The room buzzed with anticipation as a well-dressed billionaire, a titan of the tech world, walked in. His presence commanded attention, and everyone instinctively stood up to greet him, offering polite smiles and handshakes. This wasn't just any ordinary day in the corporate world. Today, the billionaire was meeting with a group of top-level decision-makers, all of whom had been carefully selected to discuss a major investment opportunity. Among the group was Lisa Jones, a senior partner at one of the most prestigious venture capital firms. Lisa, an accomplished Black woman with years of experience in high-stakes investments, was one of the few women at the table and the only person of color. She had built her reputation from the ground up, having backed dozens of successful startups, including several that went on to become billion-dollar companies. To many, Lisa was a force to be reckoned with, someone who had earned her seat at the table through hard work, knowledge, and an eye for lucrative opportunities. As the billionaire entered the room, there was a palpable sense of respect from the team. Everyone knew that he held the purse strings, and his approval would mean millions, if not billions, in investments. Lisa stood, offering a firm handshake and a warm smile, ready to introduce herself. She had met many high-profile individuals over the years, but this time, something felt different. Perhaps it was the air of superiority that hung around the billionaire, or maybe it was the unspoken sense of tension as he glanced over the room, sizing up everyone in it. When Lisa extended her hand, however, the billionaire's response took everyone by surprise. He looked at her, then looked away, and simply said with a casual tone, "I don't shake hands with staff." His words weren't said in an aggressive manner, but there was no mistaking the condescending tone they carried. The room fell silent. Lisa's hand hovered in midair for a moment, as the tension became almost unbearable. Some of the men in the room shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others nervously chuckled. It was as if they didn't know how to react, unsure if the comment had been a joke or something deeper. Lisa, however, did not flinch. She stood tall, a mixture of surprise and calm in her demeanor. Her hand slowly dropped to her side, and she took a seat at the table without a word. The air was thick with awkwardness, but Lisa remained composed, her face giving nothing away. She was no stranger to being underestimated, especially in a room full of powerful, mostly white men. But she had never allowed anyone's disrespect to define her. What the billionaire didn't know was that Lisa wasn't just some staff member. She wasn't there to fetch coffee or take notes. Lisa was the person who controlled the future of his investment. She was the decision-maker, the one who had the power to make or break his pitch. She held the key to where billions in funding would go. The billionaire may have assumed that his dismissive behavior would go unnoticed or even unchallenged. But Lisa knew her worth. She knew the value she brought to the table, and she understood that respect, real respect, was earned, not given based on titles or appearances. That day, Lisa wasn't just fighting for a seat at the table. She was fighting for recognition in a world that often underestimated people like her. Little did the billionaire know, this moment of arrogance would cost him dearly, both in reputation and money. But at that moment, Lisa made a silent vow. She would make her actions speak louder than any handshake ever could. Lisa didn't respond with anger. There was no raised voice, no emotional reaction, no calling out, just a calm, collected smile. She adjusted her notepad, took her pen, and began to quietly take notes as if nothing had happened. While the billionaire began his pitch with confidence, boasting about his company's future and market dominance, Lisa remained focused. Her body language was poised. Her mind, however, had already made a decision. As the billionaire spoke about the $4 billion in funding he was seeking for a new tech expansion, Lisa nodded politely. She asked a few sharp, intelligent questions when needed, not to challenge him, but to do her job with full professionalism. The rest of the boardroom watched in silent admiration. Most people would have cracked under that kind of public disrespect. But Lisa didn't just hold herself together, she rose above it. Inside, though, a storm was brewing. Lisa knew that this wasn't just a personal insult. It was a reflection of how women, especially black women, are still often treated in high-level business rooms. The billionaire didn't see her as an equal. To him, she was a staff member, someone not worthy of a handshake or basic respect. And yet, she was the one with the power to decide the fate of his $4 billion proposal. This wasn't the first time Lisa had faced this kind of quiet prejudice. Throughout her career, she had walked into rooms where people assumed she was someone's assistant, not the lead investor. She had been talked over, underestimated, and ignored. And every single time, she had let her work speak for her. Today was no different. While the billionaire talked numbers and strategy, Lisa mentally checked out. Her decision had nothing to do with the proposal's value. It had everything to do with principle. Because for her, leadership was more than just money or market value. It was about people. It was about character. Lisa believed in investing in founders who showed respect, humility, and vision, not just big egos and flashy presentations. And in just one moment, this billionaire had shown her exactly who he was. Not just someone lacking in manners, but someone who wouldn't respect her team, her time, or the people she fought to uplift. She knew that giving him the funding would send the wrong message to her younger colleagues who looked up to her. It would mean tolerating disrespect in the name of profit. And that was a line Lisa was never willing to cross. So she kept taking notes. She let the pitch run its course. She thanked him for his time. But the decision had already been made. No deal. Her silence wasn't weakness. It was power under control. And when she finally walked out of that room, she left with her dignity, her influence, and the billionaire's fate in her hands. After the pitch ended, the room filled with the usual thank you handshakes and polite nods. But Lisa didn't linger. She stood up quietly, gathered her notes, and without saying much, walked out of the boardroom with calm confidence. No drama, no need to explain. But in her heart, she had already taken the most powerful decision of the day. As soon as she stepped outside, she made one phone call. It was short, direct, and clear. She called her firm's director of investments and simply said, "We're pulling the offer. No further action. Let's move on." That was it. No long meeting. No follow-up email. No second chances. Just a solid no. Final and unshakable. Within hours, the billionaire's team received the update. Funding declined. Asterisk. Confusion followed. His assistants scrambled. His COO sent emails asking for feedback. His strategy advisor wanted to clarify the misunderstanding. But Lisa didn't owe anyone an explanation. Her silence was loud enough. And the message was clear. Disrespect comes at a cost. To outsiders, it might have looked like a harsh decision. After all, this was a $4 billion investment, the kind of deal people dream of. But to Lisa, this wasn't just about business. This was about values. About basic human decency. She had worked her whole life to get to that decision-making seat. She knew what it meant to be overlooked, to be called staff, to be treated as less than. And she knew she couldn't, in good conscience, give someone that level of funding who couldn't even show basic respect to the people he wanted money from. Lisa didn't cancel the deal out of anger. She did it out of principle. She believed that money should empower people who uplift others, not those who step on them. She wanted her investments to go to founders who respected all people equally, no matter their background, title, or appearance. By rejecting the billionaire's offer, Lisa sent a message, not just to him, but to every room she would walk into after. She reminded people that dignity matters, that even in a world where profit often speaks louder than ethics, character still counts. In making that one phone call, Lisa protected the values she stood for. And more importantly, she became an example for every young woman, every minority, and every rising entrepreneur who needed to see that you don't have to say yes to disrespect just to succeed. The billionaire lost more than money that day. He lost an opportunity. He lost respect. He lost trust. Lisa, on the other hand, walked away with her head high, her values intact, and her influence stronger than ever. And that was worth more than any billion-dollar deal. Within just a few days, the story of what happened in that boardroom began to spread, not just among a few colleagues, but across entire business networks, boardrooms, and LinkedIn feeds. People from all industries were sharing whispers of a meeting where a billionaire dismissed a senior partner as just staff, only to be quietly denied a $4 billion deal. The business world started buzzing with one question. Who is Lisa Jones? Asterisk. She wasn't a celebrity. She didn't appear on magazine covers or headline big events. But in the corporate and investment world, Lisa was a name that carried real weight. And now, the world was beginning to see why. As people looked into her background, they were amazed to find the impact she had made. Lisa had been quietly working behind the scenes for years, helping build businesses from the ground up. She had invested in more than 100 startups, many of which were founded by Black entrepreneurs, women, and underrepresented communities. She believed in giving people a chance, people who were often overlooked by mainstream investors. Her portfolio was full of success stories, companies that started in small garages and grew into multi-million-dollar brands. Lisa didn't just bring money to the table. She brought mentorship, heart, and belief in the people behind the products. And while the billionaire had spent his life flaunting his wealth and power, Lisa had been building something far more powerful, a legacy. Articles started appearing on professional blogs. Influencers in the startup space posted about her on LinkedIn, praising her quiet strength and values. Tweets went viral. Videos were made. And all of them told the same story, about a woman who didn't need to argue or fight to prove her worth. She let her actions speak. On the other side of the story, things were looking very different. The billionaire, once seen as a confident, go-to investor, began facing quiet consequences. Some of his pending deals were put on hold. A few partners pulled back. People didn't want to be associated with someone who couldn't show basic respect to a fellow leader, especially in a world that was starting to value inclusion and integrity more than ever. He didn't issue a public statement. He didn't apologize. He simply went quiet. That one careless moment, a comment meant to dismiss someone, ended up costing him everything he came for. Crossmark a $4 billion opportunity. Crossmark a valuable connection. Crossmark and the respect of the business community. Meanwhile, Lisa continued doing what she had always done, lifting others, opening doors, and leading with grace. She proved that true power doesn't come from status or ego. It comes from how you treat people. And now, the world knew her name. Lisa Jones, the woman who said nothing, but changed everything. Asterisk. This story teaches us something simple, yet deeply powerful. Something we all know, but often forget in the fast-paced world of business. White heavy checkmark never judge people by their title or looks. White heavy checkmark respect is the real currency in business. White heavy checkmark the most powerful person in the room isn't always the loudest. It's easy to be impressed by flashy suits, expensive watches, or big titles. It's even easier to ignore the quiet ones in the room, the people who don't boast, who don't shout, who simply observe. But in the business world, appearances can be misleading. Power doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes, it's silent, graceful, and waiting for the right moment to speak. Lisa Jones reminded us of that truth. She didn't yell. She didn't slam the table or walk out in rage. She didn't call out the billionaire or create a scene. Instead, she let her calmness speak volumes. She made her point not with loud words, but with one quiet, firm action. She said no to a $4 billion deal, and in doing so, made the entire business world pay attention. That one decision echoed louder than any argument ever could. In a world where people often chase money, connections, and fame, Lisa chose dignity. She chose principle. And she showed everyone that success without self-respect is an empty victory. Her story is not just about what happened in a boardroom. It's a reminder that how we treat people matters, even when we think no one's watching. Imagine if she had stayed silent forever. Imagine if she had accepted the disrespect just for the money. The billionaire would have walked away, thinking he could act that way again. But Lisa broke the cycle. With one action, she set a standard for everyone, especially for young professionals who look up to people like her. This story is now told not just to inspire, but to guide. It's a lesson for executives, startup founders, students, and leaders of tomorrow. Respect isn't a formality. It's the foundation of real leadership. So the next time you walk into a room, whether you're meeting a CEO, a janitor, a receptionist, or a stranger, treat everyone with the same respect. Because you never know who that person really is. You never know who holds the power to change your life, your company, or your future. And even if they don't, they still deserve your respect. Because respect isn't about who someone is. It's about who you are. Lisa didn't need to prove her power. She simply lived it. And that's a lesson we should all carry forward, in business and in life. If this story inspired you even a little, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful real-life stories. Your support helps us bring more voices like Lisa's to light. Voices that remind us that respect, integrity, and quiet strength still matter. Drop a comment below and let us know what you would have done in Lisa's place. Thanks for watching. And remember, the quietest voice can make the loudest impact.